Good morning, everybody. It is 7:07 a.m. here on a Sunday in Chicago, running the CARA, ready to run 20 miles a day. Just passed the 30-minute mark, took the first gel, cruising along a solid group here, got the 8-minute per mile group for a day. Just getting into a rhythm. Guys, about an hour and 15 minutes into the run. Definitely getting into a rhythm here. A little bit separated from the pace group at the last aid station. I've been basically just walking through all the aid stations every other mile, how they have them spaced out. Just kind of take it chill for today and relax. So got plenty of running left, but out here just enjoying my time. It's a good day. 'Cause we are about 12 and a half miles in, a little bit more than that. Hour and 40 minutes on my watch. Just took my third gel, feeling good. Right calf is starting to feel a little bit tight. Feeling like maybe I need to make sure I'm getting more water in at the aid stations, but otherwise, miles are just clicking over. Nice and easy. Solid group here. 4 gels in, 2 hours. Just past the 15-mile mark, about 15.3 miles on the day. Feeling real good. I think we put some faster miles in at the end. Let's see how good or bad of an idea that is. All right, guys, I am back home now, showered up, went to breakfast with the family. They even let me take a little bit of a nap. Now I'm back in front of the computer because I want to take a quick look at some of the data. I'm not going to go over in incredible detail. I just want to go over briefly some of kind of like the high points of things that I'm going to be looking for when I'm looking at the numbers after today's long run. 20.17 miles is the total that I got on the day. Let's see, 7 minutes, 40 seconds per mile on average for the entire 20 miles and 151 beats per minute. Now, the way that I ran the run for today was I wanted to stay kind of with the pace group as a way of doing a couple of things. One, letting the group do a lot of the work in terms of pacing and like having to think about the route and all that kind of stuff. But also as an exercise in discipline, making sure that I can kind of hold back or feel like I need to hold back. I feel like a lot of times I think I'm doing really good and can go ahead and leave the groups, whatever I'm running in. I've done that a lot in a lot of races, and it always ends up kind of biting me in the butt later. So I wanted to use today as practice of like, stay with the group, even if you're feeling good, really deep into this run. And then at the end, if you're feeling good, then you can go. So I stayed with the 8-minute pace group till the 16-mile mark. And then at that point I took off and kind of gave it what I had left, thinking that I would try to put in like what felt like a good marathon effort. So I want to take a minute to look at some of the data back in polar flow again, which is the way that I generally prefer to look at some of the numbers. For a run like today, a long run where I'm looking primarily at mile splits, what Strava gives me is also really good. But today let's look at polar. And the main thing that I can look at right away is kind of like the heart rate. So for today, I felt really surprised. And I think this is like the power of running in a pack, is that for the pace group that I was with, I lined up with the 8-minute pace group, but the group that I was with, I felt like we were going a little bit faster than 8 minutes per mile, which, you know, if I was like really trying to hit 8 minutes per mile, I probably would have said something. But for me, selfishly, I really wanted to run about 7 minutes, 45 seconds per mile on average, somewhere in that range. So like, I was like, this group's moving a little bit faster than 8. That works out better for me anyway. And so like we were averaging, we could take a look at the numbers individually, but like, I think, you know, 7:45, anywhere between 7:45 and like 7:55 seems to be like predominantly what we're doing. One of the miles I came in, clocked in at 8 minutes. And some of them were kind of closer to 8 than they were 7:45, but a lot of them were kind of like faster than 8 overall. Also, one of the things that I did today was I decided I was going to walk through all the aid stations, not like walk through them entirely, but you know, instead of like trying to run quickly, grab a cup and like, you know, drink it sideways and get the food in as best I could. Today I was like, you know, it's a training run, it's not a race. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop, grab a drink, drink it while walking, and then if I have time, grab a second one, and sometimes I even grab like a third. So I would get like 2 waters and a Gatorade or a water and a Gatorade. So I did that, and then I would pretty easily catch back up with the group. So that I actually really liked, and I may use something more like that even for my races, just because it just felt like I got more fluid in, which I did feel like I was cramping up a little bit pretty early on in the day. So I thought like, I gotta make sure I get fluids in because the temperatures were rising. But also just felt more like relaxed, and my body seemed to not mind having to pick up the pace a little bit to catch up. So it felt good. I felt like I got more fluid in, and I felt like I had a really strong day out there. But going back to the heart rate, one of the things that I noticed is that like, because I was in the pack, even though it was a little bit windy, I felt like the pack was doing a good job of shielding me from the wind. And so I felt like my heart rate was a little bit lower than it would have been kind of running right or a little bit under 8 minutes per mile. And so like, I felt like sometimes I was underneath my low heart rate range. So I was running like low heart rate miles. And other times I felt like I was only a little bit above. So like maybe within 5, certainly less than 10 generally heartbeats above my kind of low heart rate range. So I felt like this is a nice kind of like level of effort to have for a 20-mile long run that is not going to be like a race type of effort. So I really enjoyed that, and that shows in some of the mile splits as well. You could see I'm down here at like 146, 145, 147s, some of them as low as 142. You know, and so a lot of them staying really, really low, even all the way up to about like the half marathon mark. I think at that point, the heat really started to get to me. It started getting a little bit windier as well. And so the heart rate's starting to climb a little bit. And there's also that cardiac drift. Once you've been working for a little while, your body's just, you know, starting to get a little bit fatigued, and the heart rate just creeps higher and higher. And so at the 16-mile mark is where I split off from the group. And that's when the heart rate jumped up to 164, and kind of that was the lowest it stayed. And then the power numbers also went up. So before I was cruising along at like 230, which is a little bit higher than like the range of easy for me in terms of power. And then it jumped up to 258, 261, and 265 for the rest of the run. And that's squarely within what I think like a good marathon effort is for me, right at that 260 to 265 number. So like, I'm happy that like I wasn't looking at the power number at all at that point. I wasn't really even looking at heart rate or pace all that much, although I did peak at pace a little bit just to see how I was doing. But I was pushing at an effort level that I felt like I could maintain for the remainder of the 4 miles. That didn't feel like I was doing some sort of time trial or race. That's something that felt close to like a little bit harder than maybe marathon pace. I felt like it was okay to push it a little bit, but you know, it's still a 20-mile day. And so any kind of pushing is a little bit of an effort. So I felt like that was a good kind of approximator or a good marathon race simulator in terms of the level of effort that I was putting forth. And I'm glad to see that like the numbers are lining up well. I was pushing about 260 watts, pushing also about 165 beats per minute, which I feel like a safe heart rate range for me to be in for marathon racing is right around 160. And towards the end of the race, I'll be, you know, 165 to 170. And then the paces were 659, 702, 658, and 644 for the last full mile. So that was pretty cool. So I was very excited to see that too. One other thing that I can do with Polar is also just look at that last 4-mile block in one chunk as well. So let's do that. So I'm going to start it at mile 17, right? No, mile 16. Let's do that. So that way I have that 4 miles, or like the 4 miles 0.17 that I had, at least according to my watch and FootPod. And so that put me for that 0.15 miles at 166 beats per minute and 655 minutes per mile on average and 261 watts. So again, for me, like marathon effort numbers in terms of the heart rate and the power and the pace is right about like where I think my level of fitness is. It's actually a little bit better than what I think kind of like that power number and that heart rate range should give me right now for this current level of fitness. So all in all, like a very encouraging run for today. And the best part about that for me though is I felt fantastic during this run. So like I felt like, you know, at the 20-mile mark, you know, not that I really wanted to go longer, but if I had to go longer, you know, I do feel like I had more in me. So I didn't feel like I had to completely empty myself in order to hit these numbers today or to hit those splits for today. I just felt like I was just comfortably pushing, and like I'm very happy with like what that got me for today. So overall, very happy with kind of my progress, where I'm at 3 weeks out from the Chicago Marathon. And I just had a really great time out there today. I was able to meet a lot of people, both in the group and just kind of getting ready for the run to start, and in the finish line area or like the post-run area, and on the bus back. So I got to meet a lot of you guys, and that was really fun to do that as well. It's always great to meet people like in person. So that was really nice. Got to take some pictures with some of you guys too. So that was a lot of fun. And this CARA event, the Chicago Area Runners Association event, was, you know, like executed really well. There were several hundred runners out there. There were so many people out there, but like I felt like from an organizational standpoint, like gear check worked really well. I was able to pick up my bag really quickly afterwards. The entire course like was marked really well, and there were so many volunteers along the course, not only just flagging people, making sure they were going the right way, and also especially the volunteers and the people working at all the aid stations. That was so great. Really great to see so much support out there, and I definitely appreciated all your guys' efforts, so thank you very much for that. And it was just overall just a fantastic experience. The bus ride back was super convenient. They had extra masks right there for you because mine was wet, because I didn't know if I would need to have mine like right after I finished, so I did carry mine with me. But you know, when I do that and I put it in a pocket that I'm running in, it's going to be wet at the end. So I was very happy to get a fresh, dry, disposable mask afterwards for the bus ride home. And then, you know, super easy to get off the bus, and then I got into my car and drove home. So like a really great day. Everything was super well organized. Weather was great. It was a little bit warm. I did pour at one point, like one of the aid stations had full water bottles that they gave out. which was great because then I drank a lot of the water and then I just poured the rest of it, dumped it on myself to stay cool. So it's just great weather overall. Really can't ask for a better day than I had today, not only from support from CARA and the run and the event that they put on, but also, from the result and kind of like where I'm feeling in all this in terms of being ready to run Chicago. I'm not sure what this does for me in terms of like where I'm going to line up and what pace group I'm heading. I'm looking for. I'm doing a lot of thinking about that. I do feel like I'm in pretty good fitness, but also at the same time, I'm trying to keep in mind that this buildup has been unusual. And not a typical like marathon buildup. I like short marathon buildups, but this has been very, very different. Not to say that I haven't been working hard and not to say that I haven't been exercising, but it's just, I haven't been doing a lot of marathon specific training until maybe like 3 weeks ago. So it's been unusual, not exactly sure where I'll be. And I think ultimately a lot of it's going to come down to the day, what the weather is that we get, how I'm just feeling on that particular morning. And I think I'll kind of like let, as I say, let the race come to me, that kind of thing. So I'll probably line up with the 310 group, maybe the 315 group, and just kind of do what I did today, which is, be really disciplined and stay with the group for as long as possible. And then when I feel like it's time, take off. And I felt just so strong for those last 4 miles. And trying to figure out how do I extrapolate that strategy so that I can have a lot of that great feeling for the marathon. So lots of stuff for me to think about. And I think now that, like we're less than 3 weeks away, kind of starting tapering soon. And I'll have plenty of time to think about all that kind of stuff. So that's where I'm at after the 20 miler, the only 20 miler that I'll be doing for this marathon buildup. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, or better yet, feel free to stop by the live stream that I do Monday through Friday right here on YouTube. I'd love to talk to you guys in the chat. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of the video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?